Welcome to Bass Habits episode number 61. Today we're talking about Mike Mills, bass player of R.E.M. Founded in 1980, R.E.M. got in the vanguard of alternative rock in the early 90s, just as it was becoming mainstream, and then continued their career in the 2000s with mixed critical and commercial success, before breaking up amicably in 2011 as one of the world's best-selling music acts, with over 85 million records sold worldwide. Quoting Wikipedia, R.E.M. was noted for box ringing and arpeggiated guitar style, Stipe's distinctive vocal quality, Barry's tight and economical drumming, and for Mike Mills' melodic bass lines. Mike Mills' melodic approach to bass playing is famously inspired by Paul McCartney of the Beatles and Chris Squire of Yes, often providing the instrumental melodic hook of the song. At times, his trebly P bass tone and the way it operates within the song reminds me also of Andy Rourke and the Smiths. So let's have a look at the main features of Mike Mills' approach to bass guitar. First of all, chord tones. The main reason why Mike Mills is associated with Paul McCartney is the massive use of chord tones. As we already discussed when talking McCartney, chord tones are the notes belonging to a chord. So if we have an A major chord, for example, the chord tones are A, C sharp, and E. If we have a G dominant 7 chord, it's G, B, D, and F, and so on. So what Mills does is take the notes belonging to the chord the guitar player Peter Brook is playing and use them to create his bass lines, instead of just staying en route. The reason why this works so well in the music of R.E.M. is that their guitar parts utilize mostly ringing arpeggios and open chords instead of actual riffs. And that leaves a lot of space for the bass to play with the notes and build some straightforward and defining bass lines. ODDFELLOWS' Local 151 is also a good example, where Mike is underlining the E minor chord that is the cornerstone of the verse. Mike Mills was a trained musician, so it's no surprise that the use of chord tones doesn't end with root 3rd and 5th. The main guitar riff of ENDGAME uses an unusual chord progression of C major, D major, E dominant 7, and A dominant 7. That's 3 key changes within 2 bars. Mike ties them all together using a melodic minor scale, pretty unusual in rock music. Man on the Moon's bass line is constructed using root, 5th and 6th degree. On All the Best, the bass spells a B minor scale, while the guitar keeps hitting the chord and acts as the pedal tone. So over me, so generally speaking, the use of chord tones indicates a good understanding of chords and a very musical ear. This type of playing brings quite a lot of movement without treading on anyone's toes, and as a result the bass sounds always very melodic and very McCartney. Going on tonight, there's something going on that's not quite right. Chord tones add a lot to the songs, but not so that you'd notice unless you stop to analyze them. Number 2 is use pauses in the verses. Mills' idea of rhythm is a vital part of R.E.M.'s music. As said before, the guitar work consists mainly of ringing arpeggios and open chords that pretty much go on the whole time, creating the foundation for Michael Stipe's voice. But open chords also means there is little to no syncopation in the guitar department, and especially there's no pauses. Mike Mills' syncopated bass lines against a solid and consistent chord-based guitar work are the trademark of the sound of R.E.M. Let's take what's the frequency KENNETH for example. The bass with his little hiccup gives the syncopation to the verse, otherwise made entirely of open chords.
What's the frequency KENNETH? The show been so
Everybody Hurts has a similar arrangement.
Everybody hurts.
The bass line on Losing My Religion alternates pauses with long and short notes, creating a thick texture that is really like a second voice in the band. This is one of R.E.M's biggest hits and it showcases perfectly what Mills brings to the band. Guitar is just playing open chords and it's all up to the bass to bring up the rhythm complexity. Number 3. The Mills Box. Mills' favorite lick is pretty simple. This little run is everywhere and can be used both starting from the root or land into it. Speaking of root, it's no surprise Mike likes to change it every now and then. With this type of guitar work, it's a much needed variation. On star 69, the A sharp over the F sharp in the verse creates a F major chord for a second. The verse of Shiny Happy People, the bass hits on C sharp, while guitar keeps F sharp.
Me in the crowd.
On the verse of Old Man KENSEY, there's a pretty exotic dissonance between the bass, playing a chromatic figure, that uses a flat 5 and a flat second interval, and the guitar keeping a B5 power chord. Number 5. Play licks on the 4th or 8th bar only. So when do we play these licks? Well, in the music of R.E.M, bass licks normally come on the 4th or 8th bar only. Why is that? Because most of the time the vocal part on the verse is over by then and Mike uses that little space to sneak in a lick, creating movement without getting in the way of the vocals. Another excellent example of musical intelligence and teamwork. There's a lot of unexpectedly interesting bass lines in the music of R.E.M. Catapult is built using power chords and a trebly guitarish tone that reminds of Peter Hook and Joy Division. On Can't Get There From Here, Mills brings up an unusual funky vibe. Mike Mills used a variety of bass guitars over the course of his career, but he's mostly associated with, guess what, a Fender P bass. Mills, however, is a rare case where gear doesn't really matter, because he will still sound like Mike Mills even on a $50 bass guitar. His astonishing musical intelligence and his incredible sense of melody really take R.E.M up a notch, and both are a big part of why their songs still sound fresh 30 plus years after they were recorded. And this is it. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to leave a comment, subscribe and follow me on Instagram for more.